All right, guys, I'm here with former Impact Wrestling World Champion Moose. Moose, great to talk to you. Welcome on into the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. And so I'm so psyched to be able to chat with you. Your run in Impact Wrestling has been quite the thing. You've done a lot. You're a tenured guy, now with the company. And to start the conversation, I'm just curious as to your feelings on the company, having seen a lot of iterations and talent come in and out and living through pandemic. Like just your perception of Impact Wrestling and what it means to you in your career at this point.
I mean, Impact Wrestling is a great place for talent all over the world to come and show their skills. And I'm one of the longest tenured guys on the roster, and just being here from the beginning, I've seen all the great changes, positive changes that we've made because of the leadership of Scott Demore and Ed Nordholm, our two leaders, and yeah, man, I'm happy I'm part of the roster. I'm happy I'm part of the positive changes, and I can't wait to see what else and how big the company gets.
It's great. You recently, re-signed with the company. Like, what goes into that kind of decision? When especially these days when there is a lot of different places to work and to go and somebody with your name brand. I mean, what goes into like you deciding, all right, hey, look, no, I like being a part of this impact mission and the impact company. I'm sticking around.
It's a lot, man. It's how much time you're going to be working, obviously how much money you're going to be making,
Sure.
uh, how you're going to be used. I mean, it's a lot of different things that come into making a decision to where you want to go work, and I'm just happy that all the lines came together for me to stay in at Impact Wrestling, and like I said before, being part of the positive changes and the upward trend that Impact Wrestling is making.
Interesting. So, um, recently, you just wrapped up a really long term storyline with Josh Alexander. Big match at the Rebellion pay per view for the Impact World Championship. You beat him for the world title at Bound for Glory, and you kind of built up to this rematch from that point until you had it a couple weeks ago. Um, what goes into that type of story, like on a week in week out basis, like to make sure that you're not giving away the farm right away, but that it has enough juice to last, from October to mid-April, so that it's kind of all boiling at the right time. What sort of like creative process do you go through with Josh or with writers to make sure that it stays hot but doesn't burn out?
I mean, obviously, it's more the writers doing on that side of it, I guess. But to answer your question from the best, um, from to do the best way answer your question is to make it interesting, making it where the fans want to tune in week to week. Obviously, me and Josh was feuding for what, about 6 months, a little bit more than 6 months. So they had to find little ways in 6 months to make it um entertaining enough and I guess action packed enough where the fans want to tune in to see this ultimate battle between myself and Josh. And I think they did a great job because, as you can see, how their reaction was during the match.
Yeah. What sort of I mean, do you have like regular input into how those little nuggets go along the way, or do you kind of just go with it because you trust the process?
Both. Usually you have some input. Obviously, you can't rewrite the whole show with your ideas, but they throw some things at you, and sometimes you feel comfortable doing it. Sometimes your character might not want to do a certain thing, but for the most part, I trust the guys writing the show, Jimmy and Robert, and Scott, and whoever else is in that room creating. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to trust them because they're doing everything they do is for their talent's best input. They want to create stars. They would never want to bury anybody because then how's that making them money? So in that sense, I do trust every single one of them. You have to because at the end of the day, it's their job to create stars every Thursday and every pay per view and every app special that we get.
Yeah. How was it working with Josh Alexander? I mean, you guys were attached at the hip, from this story for quite some time. What was it like working with him?
No, he's great to work with. I mean, just like anybody else on our roster, Impact does a great job of putting together a bunch of professionals and guys who are great at their craft. So working with him was easy and it was fun. And working with anybody on our roster would be fun because, like I said, Impact does a great job of putting together a bunch of real good, great professionals, some of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah. When you guys sit down to, because look, you talked about, okay, hey, we have this long-term story arc going. Trust is in the writers to kind of get us from A to B, with your input, of course. But then it comes time to actually have the match, have like the payoff match, the blow off match. What? So I have a bunch of questions about that match in particular. Like, first and foremost, like, how do you guys go about designing something that can not live up to the hype in terms of like be good enough, but that goes along with the story? I mean, is this something where you guys sit down in the ring and go, all right, let's try to do X, or is it something you just call while you're out there? Like what goes into making sure that you put a match together that pays off on the story that you told?
Like I said, it goes back to the answer I gave you before. When you're working with a bunch of professionals and guys who are considered some of the best wrestlers in the world, that side of it is actually very easy.
Hmm.
That's very easy. Making a match that the fans are into, and for us, it's even easier because the fans has been so into the whole storyline for 6 months that it makes whatever we called in the back before we go out there even easier because the fans have been so invested. So it doesn't really matter what we do because they want to see this match. So it makes our outside of it very, very, very easy.
Do you What sort of cues do you, as a performer in the ring, especially during a big match like the one you had with Josh at Rebellion, like what sort of cues do you look for in the audience in terms of like, so that you can recognize, hey, okay, wow, this is working, let's do more of that, or nah, this isn't working, let's pivot and go to something else? Is like, is there any kind of like regular things that you look for that the audience gives you in terms of feedback to kind of to direct you while you're out there?
Yeah, obviously, you always have to. I mean, no matter what you call, the audience is going to tell you what they like, and then there's certain parts of the match where you keep doing whatever thing that they're really into, because you know what I'm saying. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can't give you exactly what that thing is because I'm not wrestling right now. Like it's an interview. Yeah, to answer your question, when you're out there, there are certain things that you do, and you hear the crowd, and they're super into it, and you just keep doing it because they're into it. And there's certain things that while you're doing there's no reaction, and you have to, okay, we can't do that because they don't give a shit about it. Let's move on to the next thing. So yeah, the audience for sure dictates what we planned and if we're gonna do certain things we planned or not. Um, that's why it was kind of hard where when we was wrestling without fans because of COVID, you didn't have that part of, you know what I'm saying, part of
Yeah.
it in the ring with you because obviously there's no audience, so you don't know if they're really into it or not. You're just doing what you planned. But now that the whole world and wrestling in general have fans out there, um, that aspect of listening to them and dictating what they um, what they want and how they're reacting to stuff makes you want to keep doing certain things or delete certain things. So yeah, they're a big part of it also.
Interesting. Have you been a part of, a feud like this before with Alexander, the one that kind of spanned so much time? Obviously, you've had different feuds and different programs and different matches, but this one, for Impact Wrestling in particular, especially post pandemic, this was a signature feud. I mean, how does that stack up? Like that body of work, how does it stack up to other things that you've done in your career?
Definitely, lengthwise, definitely the longest feud that I've been into that lasted 6 months. I mean, I can't tell you what the stats is, but I'm sure it's
Hmm.
probably one of the longest feuds in Impact's history that lasted that long. Have I had other feuds that I'm very proud of? Yeah, definitely had a bunch of feuds I'm very proud of, and even going to Slammiversary, I feel like what I'm doing now myself, with myself and Sammy Callahan. Um, that's if that's what the match is at Slammiversary. I'm guessing that's where we're going. That's what's going to happen. But I'm happy with that storyline as well. But yeah, I've been in a lot of great feuds, but this one with Josh is definitely up there in some of the best feuds I've been in. Definitely the longest feud I've been in, and we did a good job executing at Rebellion.
What does it mean to you to, like, to kind of put a bow on a feud like that, where Josh is, going to win the world title? Obviously, that's the end of the story. Big time moment, but you know you play such an important role in that moment. Like, what is it? What were your feelings kind of when it was all wrapped up and said and done?
Um, we delivered. Obviously, it's the writer's job to write a story that gets people very invested into what's going on. But it's myself and Josh's job once it's said and done, once the story is written, to go out there and deliver it. And we 100% did that. People were calling this match of the year so far, and best match in Impact's history, at least championship wise and story wise. So yeah, I think we did a good job delivering that, and yeah, I'm very extremely proud of that.
Right. So back to just kind of Impact overall. You mentioned, and I just wrote this note down when you mentioned it, that you're one of the most tenured performers in the company. How has your, you know because you're in that position now, how, like, does your day to day or does your role change with, like, within the company now? Are you kind of giving more advice or being more vocal about stories and direction, like, or not, or are you just still kind of like, hey, look, I'm a top star, I'm gonna be act like one, and that's it?
I mean, I haven't been asked to do any of that, so honestly, it's business as usual for
Okay.
me. Sometimes if I see something not being done right with certain wrestlers, I might give them a advice here and there. But for the most part, I just go to work, do my thing, and try to do it to the best of my ability and give 110%. So
Hmm.
that's what I'm doing from day one, and that's what I'm always going to do.
All right. um Last question here, man, and again, thank you so much for the time and all your success. The You've done so much in your career already, big time feuds, you've held multiple titles, you've done just so much. What like what's the future? I mean, you mentioned Sammy Callahan potentially at Slammiversary. Are there any just kind of like dream matches that you want to have, dream opponents, like anybody that you want to work that you haven't worked with yet? Like, just with somebody with your resume, it's like, you what how do you find that type of next goal for yourself, and what is it?
I mean, honestly, I'm not the guy type of person to like name dream opponents, or I want to wrestle this guy. I'm up for anything. The only thing I can control is myself, and every time I go out there, I want to get better. I'm still not the perfect wrestler. I don't think there's any perfect wrestlers out there. I think I'm still on the verge where I learn every time I'm in the ring. I'm still learning, So yeah, I just want to continue to get better, continue to evolve as a professional wrestler, as a human, as an entertainer, and yeah, so that's what I can control, and that's what I'm going to keep doing, trying to evolve, trying to get better, and not be stale. Because that's a fear that if you're the same guy or the same character for a long time, people get tired of it and get bored of it, and you get stale. So my job is to keep reinventing the Moose character and evolving and getting better, so I don't get stale. And I still have that big star presence every time I come out. So that's my ultimate goal, and that's what I'm working on doing.
Excellent. Moves, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man and appreciate it. Really fun insight into the big match with Josh Alexander. Very much appreciate it, and hopefully we can do this again really soon.
All right, thank you.